The Black Dahlia, the murder that Hollywood never forgot. January 15th, 1947. A mother was walking through a quiet neighborhood in Los Angeles with her young daughter. Then, she saw what she believed was a mannequin lying in the grass. But it wasn't a mannequin. It was the body of a young woman. She had been brutally murdered, and the body had been left in a position so disturbing that investigators immediately knew they were dealing with something extraordinary. The woman had been cut in half, yet there was almost no blood at the scene. Whoever had killed her had likely done it somewhere else. Within hours, the victim was identified as 22-year-old Elizabeth Short. But the case would soon become known by another name, the Black Dahlia, and the person responsible for her murder would disappear into history. Before we begin, subscribe to Dark Archive for more unsolved mysteries, disappearances, and dark cases from around the world. Now let's open the file. On the morning of January 15th, 1947, a mother and her young daughter were walking through a neighborhood in Los Angeles. The area appeared quiet. Nothing seemed unusual, until the woman noticed something lying in the grass near the sidewalk. At first, she believed she was looking at a mannequin. Then she realized it was the body of a woman. The victim had been brutally mutilated. Her body had been cut cleanly in half at the waist. But investigators immediately noticed something strange. There was almost no blood surrounding the body. This suggested that the woman had not been killed at the location where she was found. The crime scene appeared to be a place where the body had been abandoned, not where the murder had taken place. The investigation quickly became one of the largest and most publicized murder cases in Los Angeles. But before police could determine who had killed the woman, they first had to discover who she was. The victim had no identification, no purse, no obvious clues that immediately revealed her name. Her fingerprints were sent to the FBI, and remarkably, the Bureau identified her in less than an hour. The woman was 22-year-old Elizabeth Short. Her fingerprints had already appeared in government records. Once investigators knew her name, they began reconstructing her life. Elizabeth Short had been born in Boston. As a young woman, she had moved across the United States. She spent time in several different cities and eventually made her way to California. Like many young women arriving in Los Angeles at the time, she dreamed of becoming an actress. She was described by people who knew her as attractive, sociable, and ambitious. But her life was also unstable. She moved frequently. She relied on friends and acquaintances for places to stay. And in the weeks before her death, she had been seen in different parts of Los Angeles. On January 9th, 1947, Elizabeth Short was seen at the Biltmore Hotel in downtown Los Angeles. This would become one of the last confirmed sightings of her alive. A few days later, her body was discovered. The investigation quickly attracted enormous public attention. Newspapers followed every development. Reporters surrounded investigators, and the public became fascinated by the mysterious young woman whose murder seemed almost impossible to explain. The press soon gave Elizabeth Short a nickname, the Black Dahlia. The name was reportedly connected to the film The Blue Dahlia and to rumors about Short's appearance and style. The nickname would eventually become more famous than her real name. But behind the headlines, there was a young woman whose killer was still walking free. Investigators began examining every part of Elizabeth Short's final days. They questioned friends, hotel employees, acquaintances, and people who had seen her shortly before her death. But the timeline remained incomplete. There were gaps, unconfirmed sightings, and conflicting stories. The most important question was simple. Where had Elizabeth Short been taken after she was last seen alive? And who had been with her? Investigators also focused on the condition of the body. The precision of the cuts led some investigators to believe that the killer may have had knowledge of anatomy. This theory led police to examine people with medical training, students, doctors, and others who may have possessed the necessary skills, but no theory could be proven. Then, the case took an even stranger turn. A letter was sent to the Los Angeles Examiner. The package contained personal belongings connected to Elizabeth Short. It also contained a message. The sender appeared to know details about the case. The letter was followed by additional communications. Some of them were written in a way that appeared to be designed to attract attention. Was the person sending the letters the killer? Or was someone simply trying to exploit the investigation? Authorities searched for fingerprints. They examined handwriting. They followed leads across the country, but no definitive connection was ever established. The investigation continued to grow. Hundreds of people claimed to have information. Some claimed to know the killer. Others accused strangers, and several individuals eventually became major suspects. Over the decades, more than 100 people have been connected to theories surrounding the murder. Some were doctors. Some were criminals. Some had connections to Los Angeles. And some were simply people who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. One of the most famous suspects was Dr. George Hodel. His name became widely discussed decades after the murder. Supporters of the theory pointed to his medical background, his connections to Los Angeles, and claims made by people who believed he may have been involved, but he was never charged, and no definitive evidence has ever proven that he was the killer. Other suspects have also been proposed. Some theories suggest the murderer may have been someone close to Elizabeth Short. Others believe she may have been targeted by a stranger. Some investigators have even suggested that more than one person may have been involved. But every theory eventually reaches the same problem. There is no conclusive evidence, no confession that can be verified, no murder weapon, no confirmed eyewitness who saw the crime take place, and no suspect who was ever proven to be responsible. The FBI assisted the Los Angeles Police Department during the investigation. Agents checked records, interviewed potential suspects, and searched for connections between the case and people across the country. Investigators even examined whether the killer may have possessed specialized knowledge because of the way the body had been cut. But the case remained unsolved. Years became decades. The original investigators grew older. Witnesses died, memories faded, and evidence disappeared. But the mystery continued to attract new investigators. Journalists, authors, retired detectives, and amateur researchers. Each generation produced new theories. Each new theory claimed to explain what happened to Elizabeth Short. But none solved the case. The Black Dahlia murder remains one of the most famous unsolved murders in American history. A young woman came to Los Angeles with dreams of a new life. She was identified within hours of her death, but the person who killed her was never identified with certainty. More than 70 years later, the questions remain. Who took Elizabeth Short? Where was she killed? Why was her body left in that Los Angeles neighborhood? And who was responsible for one of the most notorious murders of the 20th century? Perhaps the killer died without ever confessing. Perhaps the truth was hidden by someone who knew exactly what happened. Or perhaps the answer has been sitting somewhere in the evidence all along. The name Elizabeth Short is remembered. The name Black Dahlia is remembered. But the person responsible for her murder remains unknown. This has been Dark Archive. If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe and turn on notifications for more unsolved mysteries, cold cases, and dark stories from around the world. Until next time, keep searching for the truth.